there are some people who say that US and China have already decoupled, others saying that it could never happen. So these are two extreme positions that have no overlap. What's your take on this? Is it possible to avoid if it hasn't happened already?
Well, there is selective decoupling. If you look at the steps that have been taken to prevent Huawei developing or building out 5G infrastructure in the US, or if you look at the steps that have been taken to restrict the most sensitive security related semiconductors exports, that is decoupling based on security. We want to have a high wall around a small yard. If you tried to have a large decoupling, it would be enormously devastating in terms of its economic effects on China's economy, US economy, and the world economy. So in that sense, a selective decoupling, yes, we've already seen it. A real decoupling or total decoupling, we haven't seen, and I don't think we should. What's more, there is an area of interdependence, which I call ecological interdependence, where it makes no sense at all to talk about decoupling because those issues obey the laws of physics, not of politics.
You've been writing a lot recently about what you call cooperative rivalry. What does that mean in practice?
I use that term cooperative rivalry to try to get people to realize that when we're formulating a policy toward China, we have indeed to compete. We also need to combine with cooperation. Nobody can solve problems like climate change acting by themselves. You have to have power with other countries as well as power in contrast to other countries. So a cooperative rivalry requires us to do things that seem to be mutually inconsistent, compete and cooperate at the same time. It can be done, but if you express it in those terms, it makes the policymakers think more clearly about strategy rather than simplistically that it's all one or the other.
I want to stay with that theme that you just touched on there about how no one country can go as along in solving these enormous global shared challenges that we're currently faced with. Because you're also talking about leveraging partnerships and alliances like Japan and India. Who are they important for, and how are they going to help the US China relationship as a complete entity?
Well, I think on some of these issues, you need cooperation of Japan, India, Europe, and basically you need everybody. But I was thinking on the Japan-India alliance, the so-called Quad, if you then add Australia, it's more in the security area, which essentially is to shape the external environment for China. It's impossible to change China internally. How China changes internally is going to depend on Chinese. China is just much too large for the US or any other external actor to try to change. But you can shape the external environment. So if China has aggressive intentions or wants to bully certain countries, the fact that they are working together, and let's say the Quad of US, India, Australia, and Japan, means that China has to take into account that as they bully one, for example, as they bullied Australia, if you have this relationship of alliances and friendships, it means that as China becomes crosswise with one partner, it weakens its relations with the others as well. So essentially, shaping the external environment is not the same as containment. We're not trying to stop Chinese growth, but it does mean that if China acts aggressively or in a bullying fashion, it will find that it's more costly.
Professor Nye, I want to finish off with this one question here. These interviews, these dialogues have a stated purpose of bringing people together and of advancing trust and understanding through dialogue and conversations like these. There is, I believe, zero or near zero trust between the United States and China today, which must make a lot of people very sad and frustrate others. What is it going to require? I mean, what's the one idea, the one first step that everybody can take together or separately to reestablish that trust in a really meaningful way?
Well, I find that interpersonal contacts and working on projects where you have a common goal is very useful in terms of showing that you can have parts of the relationship that are trusting, and then those may spill over into other parts.